Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular council meeting for Wednesday, March 19th, 2025. We respectfully acknowledge that the land on which we gather and work on is the unceded traditional territory of the Comox First Nation, the traditional keepers of the land. There are no introduction and approval of late items. If I can get a motion to adopt the agenda for tonight.
Moved. Second.
Any questions or comments on the agenda this evening? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes. Thank you. We have one delegation this evening. Welcome to Inspector Mercer from the Comox Valley RCMP, who is going to be giving us an update on our past police priorities and giving us a review and discussion of our future policing priorities. Welcome to Inspector Mercer. Just want to come on up and we'll get your mic there. Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you, Council, for having me here tonight. As your worship advised, I'm here to provide an update on a recent town hall that I did with the town of Comox just this past week at the rec center. And the purpose of the town hall, much to my purpose tonight, was to seek some input as far as the policing priorities for the 2025-2026 year. As I'm coming up to the start of my fiscal year and the end of our fiscal year at the same time, I need to start looking ahead as far as what we can be doing better for the town of Comox and the residents here, and give an indication as far as what we've done this past year. With respect to council, if you don't mind, I'll just kind of touch base on the town hall itself that I did. So we put it out mainly through social media as far as the purpose, and the purpose being just public outreach, an opportunity to converse with myself and other members in the detachment of any sort of policing issues that residents here find to be relevant. The showing of itself was poor compared to the other municipalities that I presented to, and I feel that was in part largely on our end in terms of not strategically either looking at a better time to maybe capture individuals to come, and maybe just earlier advertisement on this actual town hall, which I'll learn for next year. But that being said, for the amount of people that did show up, we did have a very intimate conversation. I again explained my planned purpose for that evening, and then went through a slide deck presentation to capture mainly the information and data that was provided in your third quarter reporting that I previously reported to this council on. I then walked through some of the changes this past year that our detachment has seen, mainly in terms of personnel and the potential impact that had on service delivery, and then rolled into future initiatives or things that we're working on right now, so the community was aware of it. And areas that I focused in on were just so my notes here, the body worn camera that is set to be in our detachments and in use and operation. We're aiming for about the midsummer of this coming year on it. The body worn camera in and of itself will be revolutionizing how we conduct our business with the public, but also it will provide a little bit more transparency to the public on interactions with the police, and improve public confidence in our policing. My own experiences with body worn camera coming from a public accountability unit with ACERT is that it's invaluable. The interactions that are captured on that, it provides us with a true objective lens to see how police are interacting with the public and how public are interacting with police. It helps us in terms of our public complaint process and gives us the opportunity to address things or items of concern identified to the public sooner. Outside of that, there's going to be a bit of a learning curve for our officers, because up until now, there hasn't been a device that's capturing all their activities, or at least relevant to their job duties. So there will be a bit of a learning curve and training that goes with it. We're already starting to get some awareness and some positive behavior trained to our detachment members right now, getting them accustomed to the in-car digital video system within their cars, making it mandatory use. Before it really wasn't. It was just a equipment and tool that that members had to opt in to use, and I'm now making it mandatory that when they're going out, that they're utilizing their in-car digital camera systems. And again, giving them relevant examples to draw from and the reasons for it, the operational safety concerns that surround it as well, so that when the body worn camera comes into the field, our members are using it appropriately. That being said, when it comes to the release of body worn camera footage, that will be dependent upon some situational and operational factors such as court evidence, if it's going to be related to actual criminal court cases or active investigations. There may be there likely will be a holdback of that video at that particular time, but I would imagine that the rules surrounding access to this will be made available through ATIP. So unless there's actually some means to prevent access to it, like the ones that I spoke of, it will probably be another item that can be disclosed to the public in some fashion. The rules surrounding body worn camera and our policies will be public and made known to the public. And once we get closer to that date, we'll make that that information available to councils so that they can advertise it to their respective communities as well, so that the public understand that there are rules governing our usage of it and in our recordings. In addition to the body worn camera, we have our 40 millimeter and Taser 7 rollout. These are our less than lethal weapons platforms that we're utilizing within the detachment. The purpose of these less than lethal options is to save lives and curb behavior. We've always had the conducted energy weapon, the Taser model. This is now an upgrade in the Taser. I won't bore you with the specifics of the operational upgrades that we get, but it is a significantly superior device. It again, in my experience, these save lives in right situations, right? We're far removed from the Vancouver airport incident. We've learned a lot since then. We've learned how to properly use it in which circumstances. We're more accountable on how we use it. I'm confident that this tool with our detachment will also increase our ability to prevent excessive force incidences from occurring. The 40 millimeter is a lot of people kind of make an equivalence to a sock round of some kind. It's like a hard foam dart that's essentially used. And again, it's to curb behavior. It's used under certain circumstances. It's aimed at a specific part of the body, never the head. There's a targeted area and it hurts like hell when you get struck by it. But again, it's not lethal. It's not meant to be lethal. It'll leave some bruising. But again, my experience is working with other municipalities that have similar weapons platforms. They're very effective on it. So all it's going to do, again, is just boost our ability to make sure that everyone goes home at the end of the night, whether it's the public or the police. In addition to those two items, we have a couple of initiatives that we're working on. I myself am proposing a integrated mental health car response unit to be at the detachment. I'm hoping to get 2 additional police officers to be teamed up with registered nurses or psych nurses. This will be a proactive means of getting an integrated team to persons in a mental health crisis on the street. We are inundated with calls for check well-being, mental health related calls for service. This will be a proactive measure that we'll be able to bring to the street level and get people that are in a mental health crisis the access that they need at the hospital. It will prevent officers being delayed at the hospital for guarding people. It will give us a baseline on some of our repeat callers and give and provide some peace of mind to people and public when they see persons on the street that are they're experiencing a mental or health issue. I'm having positive conversations with the city of Courtenay on that initiative, as well as the Island Health. So I don't want to project when I would like to see this come out. It's obviously dependent upon funding and approvals at a higher level than myself, but we're having positive conversations and I'll keep you updated as far as what that looks like for the respective communities. In addition to that, we're looking to expand diversity into policing operations. I just recently did a presentation, a talk at the Clay Tree Society in Nanaimo, in which I was able to present to a group of neurodiverse individuals. We got onto the topic of autism, and I learned that Nanaimo Detachment has initiated a program for persons that have autism or caregivers that care for people that are on a spectrum to self-identify that they're autistic, and that we're able to incorporate that into our police systems, so that when we respond to certain locations, houses, or persons, we already have a heads up as far as the type of behavior we may be expecting. That way our officers aren't going in ramped up and thinking that the persons that they're dealing with are uncooperative or resistant. And again, it's just another way for us to modernize our policing approach and improve our training on how we're dealing with the general public. So those are a few things that I discussed, and hopefully I'll be able to report positively on these in the months to come. After the future initiatives, I then put it out to the public there as far as what they would like to see or what they feel that their policing concerns are. And that I used an application hoping that there would be a bigger crowd for polling and stuff like that. It wasn't necessary for that evening. We were able to kind of just have a roundtable discussion on it. And some of the priority categories that were identified shouldn't be a surprise to this council. Traffic was certainly a concerning issue. Youth, property and related to mischief. So that's more in line with youth loitering or concerns of them loitering at businesses and storefronts and public properties. Substance use and mental health was identified, but that was largely, I think, related to concerns that they see in surrounding municipalities, some of the issues that they see in public. Mental health is still a priority for any community, and I think that was well represented at this meeting. There was some consideration and thought put towards firearms legislation. These were concerns raised by an individual with respect to gun and property ownership. We were able to discuss this at length. There were some things that I really couldn't answer for him, and I was trying to be fully transparent on that. The concerns being whether the police are going to be knocking on doors and taking people's guns in relation to the federal legislation and the non-compliance of it. We're really not in a position to do anything like that. We haven't received any direction. Obviously, it's an evolving thing, and we'll see how the elections come this, I guess, fall. But nothing that I could explain to them that I felt that it was of concerning nature that we were going to be acting on anytime soon. But this was less representative of the group as a whole and just more of a niche issue that we found with this one particular individual. I've talked and rambled there for a second. I have a planned purpose tonight, which is to ask this council what their policing concerns and priorities are. Maybe you won't be able to give me anything firmly tonight, but you'll be able to take it back and discuss as a group and then provide that information to me at a later date. But I'm happy to ask any questions or field any concerns that you have right now.
Perfect, thank you. And I just want to say your level of engagement with the public and with our council has been really, really appreciated. Getting the new education on what's kind of coming on modern weapons and things like that is also really helpful. So thank you for that. We do really appreciate that level of engagement that you have brought to us. Questions from council, and we can also talk about priorities. We'll likely be sending a follow-up after tonight once we've had a deeper dive, but questions or comments, Councillor Haslett.
Thanks very much. I'm just interested in a little more information behind the mental health unit that you have here. You said a lot of it was based on funding. At the municipal level, is there push that we as mayor and council could do at any of the senior levels of government to look for more funding coming kind of from the top down to get things like this going?
I certainly think there's an opportunity for us to discuss that. I know when I had my conversations with the Comox First Nations, they also pledged some sort of support as well as the CVRD. The conversations up until this point have been mainly primarily with the city of Courtenay, just in terms of general interest at the beginning. And they've looked at possibly pledging money towards that initiative if it becomes a reality. If there's an opportunity for other municipalities to join in on this, I would certainly invite that conversation. Any conversations can be productive on this. I do see a value to this particular program because I've seen the successes in other municipalities such as Nanaimo and Lower Mainland and Victoria. This isn't to take away from any sort of civilian groups that are kind of doing a similar approach. And I think PACT is very active in the community. I do feel that there's enough work out there for, and especially with respect to mental health, that the police, as well as those that are civilian based, can work in the same area. With this particular initiative, it would probably be a conversation we'd have to have at a later time as far as what level of support that you'd be willing to offer to this. We're still in the infancy of planning on this. It's a lot of preliminary discussions with VHA and as well as the city of Courtney, but maybe something we can explore at a later date for sure.
Thank you very much.
Just curious, how is the online reporting tool kind of coming out for the region, and maybe not specific to Comox, but is that something, I think reporting is something we really want and we try to encourage people to do so that we can know kind of potentially what new and upcoming priorities should be. How's that tool working?
It's being utilized. I don't know if it's being utilized to its full capacity. There's still some unknowns around it. We try and advertise it as much as possible as far as the accessibility of this tool and where it would be appropriate. I know that our call manager does get online reporting complaints. I don't know if it's truly representative of the concerns that the public have either in Comox or Courtney. I would like to see it used more readily. We do have continual conversations in any town hall that I've had or any public conversations that I've had as far as when to use 911, when to use our non-emergency line, and when would it be appropriate maybe for the online reporting. I still think that there's a large portion of population in any of these communities that are failing to report activities to the police because they felt so disappointed in past experiences. They don't like the idea of being on with their dispatch for any length of time, answering a series of questions only to answer the same series of questions again with police officers. So I think it's going to take a lot more promotion on our end and maybe some support from the municipalities on how we can plug it out a little bit better. But I'll maybe bring that back to my client services people to see how we can strategize this a little bit better and roll out to the community so it's effectively used.
Right, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yes.
Councillor Grant, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. I was just wondering, you mentioned traffic as one of the issues that came up at the town hall, and I'm wondering what they were referring to. Were they referring to the speeding and the cars with the loud mufflers on them? We used to get that a lot. We seem to be getting much of it. Or is it just traffic in general? Because, you know, if we have to put 3,300 more housing units into the town, which Big Brother has spoken, so we do.
Yeah.
This is just going to get worse and worse. So just wondering what it was they were specifically.
A lot of the concerns that were raised were more of the types of offenses that you're discussing when it comes to speeding, stunting, loud noises as such. What we find common around any sort of traffic complaint. I know for the past 9 months, I've made a more concerted effort to try and focus in on what we're doing within the respective municipalities in terms of our enforcement measures, any sort of education awareness campaigns and such. That will continue into this new year. I still think it's important to do. And I am keeping an eye and trying to coordinate as best as I can with the respective CAOs. If there are any sort of traffic concerns that any respective municipality is having, that it's being communicated to us, because while we're going by the general complaints of the public and trying to develop a strategic plan on how to best move our resources so that we're both, showing police visibility at the right times and as well as doing effective enforcement, we need that feedback from the municipalities. And the items that were echoed in the areas that were brought to my attention aren't new. They're all of our main thoroughways, right? They're Guthrie, they're Noel, their back road always comes up. Back road has seen some major, I'd say some facelifting over the past couple months in terms of things to reduce speed. It's going to take time for that to curb certain behavior. And we're looking at innovative ways on how we can maybe approach that one corridor a little bit better, because for us, traffic enforcement there is dangerous. There's not a safe spot for us to really set up and address any sort of maybe speeding issues. We are in conversation with the city of Courtney to kind of get the data to find out which areas or which times and which dates are we're getting a lot of the speeding activity if, you know, if it's as bad as what's being complained to us. So we're trying to do this in an effective way without wasting police resources. But we are doing daily patrols down that specific road. And even more so with the conveyance construction and stuff, we're trying to be a little bit more visible that we can. I want to work more on Guthrie and Noel and Pritchard and some of our school zones as well and get some attention there. We are hitting a bit of a setback with our own municipal traffic section where we had about 3 people in that unit. We're down to 1 right now, which has kind of curbed our enforcement abilities, but we're really trying to push that at the general duty level as well to get the members out there during the peak times.
That's actually interesting here, so that's good to know. Thank you.
Councillor Swift.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for coming and it's wonderful to hear what you're doing. What I'm curious about is, I know years ago they used to have a liaison program with the high schools, and I don't know if that still exists. And if it doesn't, are there other ways that you can sort of initiate interactions in a positive way with you?
It's a great question. We do have a dedicated school resource officer who is involved with the high schools and some of the secondaries. Assigning specific members to schools has its positives as well as its drawbacks. You have to find the right persons that are engaging with the students so it's worth their time. We are trying to find different ways of how we can maybe present ourselves to the younger population in a more positive setting. The idea of a positive ticket campaign is being kicked around for this coming year with the city of Courtenay, and maybe we can also include the town of Comox. I don't know if you're aware of the positive ticket campaign. So whenever police officers see some sort of positive behavior within the community involving the youth, whether it's helping someone cross the street, whether it's carrying their groceries, whether it's wearing their bike helmet, and we're an opportunity and we're visible within the community, we'll try and engage in a positive interaction with that youth and then present them with often these are like they're like a little ticket, and you get some supportive businesses or the municipalities involved, where it could be like a free swim at the pool, or it could be a free ice cream cone at the Dairy Queen or something like that. And then again, it just kind of brings that level of engagement with a young person that typically they wouldn't normally see. We try and be as visible and community friendly as possible, but you know, outside of just handing out stickers and stuff like that, we also want to encourage good behavior, right? And then you know, it kind of gives that internal reward, but then that positive relationship building with that police officer, right? So I used to do it as a community police officer in a posting way back, and I enjoyed it. I used to give them to the general duty members to go out, and then it was just another way of trying to have a conversation with them. So maybe that might be a positive way to engage at the school level. I'm open to suggestions on things that we've done in the past. I know people have brought up the questions of, do we do the DARE program still? And I'm like, I don't think we do. And there are reasons for why we have discontinued certain programs, and we've tried to move past that. But I know that we're really fortunate with the school resource officer that we have, Constable Tragney, and she's open to doing whatever she can to boost the image of police within the schools and continue to build a positive relationship with the students, the staff, and the school districts.
Any further questions from council or online? Okay, well, again, thank you for the engagement you're doing with our regional councils and also the community. That sounds like you're building relationships in all the different levels. So thank you for that. And we will get back to you in early April with our council priorities and some food for thought from tonight. So thank you, Inspector Mercer, for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
So we're moving on to adoption of the regular council meeting minutes for March 5th, 2025. If we can get a motion for adoption. Any questions or comments on the council minutes from March 5th? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. Thank you. Special council meeting minutes for Wednesday, March 12th, 2025 for adoption. Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on the special council meeting minutes from March 12th? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. Thank you. We have our council committee meeting minutes from the strategic planning meeting on Wednesday, March 12th, 2025 for receipt.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on the strategic planning committee meeting? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. Thank you. On the consent agenda, we have 5 items there. If I can get a motion to receive the 5 items as a lot.
Moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of receipt of the consent agenda? Opposed? And that passes. Are there any items that council members would like to pull out? We'll just move one at a time and get a seconder for discussion. So Brent,
We bring up number 4.
Second. Sorry.
number 4, we have from Marie Jacobs. Yes.
So I'm just wondering on that, if we could get, when they bring the report back, if they could do a report and then do a small amendment by taking CFB Comox out of it to see exactly what the difference would be. Because I gotta think that the last time we had a report done, they didn't include that. And of course, we have no say in what goes on in that plan. There's nothing we can do. So, you know, I suspect it would move us up to at least a good status. So just wondering if that would be possible.
I'm just going to look through to CEO Wall for a comment on that. So that's in regards to the CFB Comox land.
Yeah, that's something that can be done if council so directs it.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Grant, do you want to follow up with that?
So did you want a motion for that? Okay, so I'd make a motion that we, that they add up a portion to that report that removes CFB Comox and out of the report. I still want to see with it in, but I'd like to see with it out as well.
Okay, so that's been moved and seconded for discussion. We have Councillor Kerr.
So maybe I'll just
Right,
add some
deal.
clarity to the motion. So the motion is looking to add an additional analysis to the urban forest management strategy, which removes the base from calculations regarding our urban canopy coverage.
Thanks for clarifying, Councillor Grant.
Now, so that, would we also get the one with it still in? Because I'd like to see both, actually.
Yeah, so the motion is that an additional analysis be included.
No, I should know that. I made it. Yeah. All right, back.
Okay, so the motion's on the table for discussion. Councillor Kerr.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Grant. It would be neat to see with and without. I do remember in the report that they kind of said, yes, it's kind of odd to have an air base for this analysis, but it kind of mitigates the fact that there's like hardly any industrial land and other kind of untreated areas that most municipalities would see. So it might actually just put us in line with other communities, but it would be neat to analyze it with and without. So I would support this.
Thank you for that. It'll tell us how much of the land is D&D also, which will be interesting. Any other comments before we vote on that motion? All those in favor? Oh, sorry, Councillor Mayor, did you have a question before we voted?
Yeah,
Just gonna go online, Councillor
Um,
Mayor. Apologies.
that's okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you. I am supportive of this motion, but I am also curious. This was a question that I raised during the presentation. We know we've lost a significant amount of forest since those images were taken in 2023. And I guess I'm just curious what our options are for reflecting current state, given that those maps and the analysis are already out of date.
I could go over to staff, but I'm pretty sure if we wanted kind of that would be another motion and kind of an additional information. And my question to staff would be, what would the implications be as far as us asking for kind of some additional information? Would that fall within the scope of the project now, or would that be looking at additional?
I think I think if I understand the question correctly, it would be waiting for additional data to come in, using that data for an additional analysis to see what our tree canopy coverage is today versus, I think at one point a year and a half ago is the data that's being used in the report. So that would likely involve additional costs. I don't know what those costs would be, and we can find out if council's interested.
Want to follow up, Councillor Mayor, as far as either finding out the costs or looking at that updated data?
Yeah, I'd be really interested in hearing the costs. And again, it's just so that we have a report that is actually current, and therefore it would be more useful, right?
Right, looks like staff is giving us the okay that they can get the cost without that being a motion, because we could make the decision. So unless I
So
see
yeah,
any-
additional costs would be.
Thank you for those comments, and just over to CAO Wall, that works to get cost for what an updated. Okay, so staff will get back to us with that. And Councillor Hazlitt.
Just confirm with Councillor Mayor's request, we're not actually going forward with anything until we hear back on cost, correct?
Correct.
Perfect, and that request didn't require a motion, so we just have the motion, the vote, sorry, on Councillor Grant's request to have D&D land removed as a second analysis. All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. Thank you. And the cost will come back for an updated version also at a future date. Are there any other items from 1 to 5? Councillor Kerr.
Number 2, please.
Okay, so that's Ross Siemens, Mayor, City of Abbotsford, requesting support for UBCM resolution for infrastructure support for specified municipalities, Housing Supply Act. I can second that. Councillor Grant seconded. Go ahead.
Awesome, thank you. So yeah, just looking at this, it looks like it's a request for support, addressing the infrastructure gap with the increased housing. After our tour of the infrared sauna today at the rec center, I was in the rec center main part of the gym there, the workout area, and it was packed on a midday. And I know that's not even the busy time. So thinking about infrastructure like our rec facilities with 3,500 more units in town, etc. Our roads, at the rec commission, we're looking at things like new hockey rinks and pools and such. So I definitely do support this. I guess my question to staff is, from this letter from the mayor, are they asking for a letter back, a letter of support, or is it just a heads up to support this at UBCM when it comes to it?
Over to CAO Wall.
I think it's just right now a request to support it at UBCM.
Council could choose to send a letter of support if it was something they felt strongly about as an option. Councillor Grant.
Yeah, so at LGLA last week, just about every community that was there had the same concern. So this is actually a much bigger issue than just us. It's pretty much everybody sees that the same issue. So probably timely to do something.
So if we leave it at that, it'll be for councillors who are at UBCM to support it as a resolution there, which I'm sure will get passed. But if there's any further interest, we can also discuss now. Okay. Are there any other items from 1 to 5 for consideration? Perfect. So we are moving on to unfinished business. We have the 3 delegations from our last council meeting last week. So we'll just go through them one by one and just for discussion, or you can make motions on any of the items if you desire. So we have 7A. We had the presentation from Alan representing Comox Valley Marina Limited on the Comox Economic Development Plan and some of the potential expansion and development that could happen on 1805, 1823 Beaufort, as well as the marina. Councillor Hazlitt, you have your light on there.
Thanks. I'd like to make a motion to move this to the OCP talks to have a more further in-depth conversation about property.
Okay, so that's been moved or seconded, and the motion was to move this to further OCP consideration, including the stakeholder meetings that are going to be announced shortly. Any comments needed from staff on that? We do not have a stakeholder date yet. Is that correct?
I believe we do actually have a stakeholder meeting time and date. Director Gould, do you mind sharing that with council?
Sure, it looks like there's a few different invites that went out actually at 4:15 today, so. The growth and development workshops are on Wednesday, April 2nd from 8 to 10 a.m. And then there's a virtual one the day before, actually, on Tuesday, April 1st from 7:30 to 9 a.m. So we found that having it before regular hours was worked for the development community. So we went with that approach, and there are a few other workshops as well. There is the connectivity and infrastructure discussion on Wednesday, April 2nd from 2 to 4 p.m. And then there is a community well-being workshop from 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, April 1st. Thank you.
Perfect. And if those dates can just be shared with council, we can also share them out in our network. So that's helpful. So back to Comox Valley Marina Limited. So that would get forwarded to OCP for discussion on density, et cetera. Councillor Kerr.
Yeah, I support the motion. I guess my question was going to be to staff. What's the best way to address this, in what format? And I guess related to this motion, is this the best avenue or vehicle with which to address this, or is there another way that council could tackle this dilemma? Thanks.
Thanks. I guess it really comes down to the decision making that council wants to make and when you want to make it. So we are going to be meeting with the stakeholders, functionally the landowners in the community, to get an idea of who has property that they think could be utilized in a way different than the zoning or the OCP that they have now. We're going to get all of that information in, and when that's done, we plan on bringing it to council. You know, the province has mandated that council provide pre-zoning for 3,300 units by the end of this year. So 20 years land supply by the end of this year. We are going to have much more property applications coming in than 3,300 units. And so when you have all of these applications come in, or all of these desires for changing the density on the properties, it's staff's intention to put all of this in front of you and start to have a discussion around where you want to see densities. So when I take a look at your decision making, it would make sense to me to have all of this information in front of you regarding all the different properties, and then start to make decisions at that time. Now, that's not to say you couldn't start making, you couldn't go into parallel decision making in a different track if you feel a property is something that you want to deal with specifically, or faster, or get into direct negotiations right away. So it really comes down to those two things. But I think given how close we are, it makes sense for council to take a look at everything together and then start to make decisions on where you want to go from there.
Other questions or comments before this moves forward to OCP and the stakeholder meetings? Okay, well, I just want to say there was some really great kind of things that highlighted what we are looking for in the economic development plan and some of the expansion down at the marina. So thank you for that presentation. We are moving on to B. We had, sorry.
We had the motion on the table.
Sorry, that's
But I have a bit of a question here to staff. Jordan, you just mentioned 1,300 units. I think we have a really large disconnect between the community right now with Bill 44 and what the province is asking us to do. The amount of units that we have to put together, as well as what the residents of the town are seeing as far as what they want the town to look. What I'm hoping to do here is make a motion to kind of help bridge the gap between some of that disconnect between the residents of the town and what the province is asking us to do, be it a social media campaign by our staff to relay messages from the town to really help clarify everything. I don't know if it's the right time to make that motion or not, or so.
I was mistaken in missing the motion. So why don't we vote on the motion? And that sounds like a secondary follow-up after, or a second. I think they don't go together probably. So thanks for clarifying. We hadn't done the motion. So the motion on the floor is to refer this to further OCP discussions from the presentation from Comox Marina Limited. Any other questions or comments on that? All those in favor? Opposed? We still have Councillor Mayor online? We don't. Okay, sorry, just wanted to check. So that passes unanimously. Thank you. And Councillor Haslett, we can do follow-up.
I'd like to move that staff put together a social media campaign to help bridge the gap between the province's mandate for the 3,300 units that are required and building our backyard.
Would you open to be a communication plan just so it can be outside of social
Yes.
media?
So maybe I'll suggest that staff develop a communication plan to inform the community of the required density changes under Bill 44 in relation to the OCP process.
Imagine it.
Perfect.
I'll second the burden. I mean.
And we'll just get you guys to use your mics if possible. So that was moved and seconded by Councillor Grant. So for discussion, I'm sure we're all. Okay, so all those in favor of a communication plan for Bill 44? Opposed, and that passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we're going on to part B, the presentation from the Comox Valley Pickleball Association requesting the town to acquire or follow up on the land on Pritchard Road. And that was for a pickleball and recreation hub and courts. We have Councillor Swift.
Thank you. It was really exciting to see their vision and contemplate that kind of facility being in our town. But what did occur to me was what Councillor Grant brought up last week, and that was the environmental concerns. So, or not concerns, but the need for an investigation. So I'm wondering if we, how do we go about this? Like, it would be a shame to get the land transferred to us and then not be able to use it. So I'm just wondering what the process would be.
Over to Ciela.
Yeah, thank you. I think those are very legitimate concerns, and anytime you're taking on an asset, it's always an asset / liability. So we want to make sure we know what we're getting into. Right now, the request that you have from the Pickleball Association is simply for me to start discussions with the province to see if this is even on the table. So you are not providing me direction to go out and acquire this land, only to start the discussions on it. And I think having discussions with the province to see if this is even something that they would entertain is probably where to start. And then we can look into going from there. Environmentally, I don't think that there will be too many concerns on the area, but whether or not it's feasible to build on, whether or not it's feasible to bring services there, those are the big questions that need to be answered, and we're going to have to answer those. But I think that's a ways away from us having to get to that level of detail.
With Councillor Haslett, and then we'll go to Councillor Grant.
Thank you. I believe at the start of this term, we discussed a little bit about sponsorship and what the town policy is. I can't recall, do we have a town policy on sponsorships? And what does that look like if we do?
We have a town policy on advertising, which allows council to enter into other agreements at your direction. So there's nothing specifically on sponsorship, but we would, in the event that a major sponsor wanted to be involved in something and the funds were going to come to the town, that proposal would come to council for your review.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, you kind of answered a lot of this, which is you're just gonna go and ask what the possibility is, which is fine. But I think in the meantime, I think it's a great idea, but I think we need to know from the pickleballers, like their source of funds, who their sponsors are gonna be. Like there's some due diligence on their side that needs to be done as well before we get too far into this. So I don't have any problem with just asking the question, but I think that as we progress along, we need to know where they're coming from. I mean, we got a pretty, it was a nice presentation, but it didn't give a lot of detail. I think we need a little detail on it. So I would just ask that we do that too.
There was some financial breakdowns that were provided in a report, so we can also share that with council and then do a follow-up to see what questions you might have after the reports. I can share that with you. CEO Wall, did you?
I was just gonna suggest if council is interested in this, you can make the motion that the town of Comox engages with the province of BC as well as the Pickleball Association to inquire about the feasibility of acquiring land at 900, 910, and 920 Pritchard Road for the intention of developing a dedicated pickleball facility.
I'll make that motion. Can we have it be rec focused? So if there was potential for a pump track or other things, can it be?
Yeah, so we can add for the intention of the construction of a dedicated pickleball facility and other recreation opportunities.
Thank you. So that's been moved and seconded just for starting dialogue. We had Councillor Blacklock and then Councillor Kerr.
Yeah, I think anytime we could make an inquiry about it, potentially inquiring for the municipality, 15 acres of land, if I was asking the question, it will be, of course, a matter of value, cost, and opportunity when it comes to the province on that piece. But I know it was part of the original treaty lands package that went to KFM, but I guess it was excluded from the ratified treaty. So there it sits. I vote in favor of, or I will vote in favor.
You are in favor. Councillor Kerr.
Thanks, Mayor. So, you know, in the draft snippets that we heard from the Parks and Rec data, I don't want to give too many away, or the report that's coming said we as a town have we exceed the per capita facilities with regards to pickleball and tennis, but we are way behind on youth recreation facilities. So as a tennis player and a pickleball player sometimes, and having youth, I have, you know, feet in all of these arenas. So I'd like to see more of everything rec related. So I wonder, I guess my question to the staff is, would it be more strategic to not even mention pickleball in the negotiations with the province and rather just keep it broad recreation focused? This might be a perfect spot for a pump track or a other recreation facilities, not specifically pickleball. There might be another spot that's more conducive to pickleball. So I appreciate Pickleball Association bringing this to us as an idea, and we probably were overdue asking the province about this anyway. But I guess the question is, what's the best strategic way to approach the province? Is it broad, or is it more specific, like for a pickleball facility and other rec potential facilities? Thanks.
Does CEO Wall for comment?
I think either way is going to be fine. There's more than enough space there if the province is willing to give it all for everything to be there. Having said that, I suspect that the province would be more willing to entertain conversations with the municipality if we're coming around a specific use and not, we want to get this land for recreation. Okay, well, what are you going to do with it? I don't, you know, we don't know. We'll figure it out later. And that can still be, but, you know, getting our foot in the door with a specific request like we have here is probably advantageous. But like I said, you know, nothing that we discuss with the province we're going to be held to in the future if something changes. And I think that there's enough space in those three properties to have youth recreation and the dedicated pickleball or tennis.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is for the pickleball and general recreation for an interim discussion with both the association and the province. Is there any further questions or comments before we vote on that? All those in favor of staff approaching the province? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. Thank you for that. We're moving on to C, the Diamond Head Consulting, Matthew Shields, Urban Forest Management Strategy. That was the presentation from last week. Are there any questions or comments on that strategy presentation? Okay, there's no motion required there. We're moving on to page 52 for short-term rental bylaw amendments. We have number 1, that zoning amendment bylaw, sorry.
I would like to recuse myself, given that I have a short-term rental.
Thank you for the reminder, Counselor Swift. My apologies. And that will be for all parts of the motion. Needed that reminder. Okay, Counselor Swift has recused herself. So we have number 1, that zoning amendment bylaw 1850.53 be given first and second readings and proceed to public hearing and that the holding of the public hearing be scheduled for April 16th, 2025. And further, that administration give notice of the public hearing in accordance with the requirements of the Local Government Act.
Move.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from council? I just wanted to ask a quick question to staff. There was an email that this would take sometime until June and potentially go past when the province had their deadline. Does this timeline with the April 16th get things done a little bit sooner than the June expected date?
Yeah, actually, a big thank you to Director Houle for moving so quickly on this. It's great to see this coming as fast as it has. Now, council, you need to go to public hearing. You need to remember that you need to go into that public hearing with an open mind. And so I can say that should we exit that public hearing without the desire to make any significant changes, we will be able to meet the provincial regulation timelines. If there are changes that need to be made afterwards, that will start to put our ability to make that timeline at risk.
Thank you.
So, and at that meeting, if we don't have any objection to it, which sometimes we do at public hearings, we could actually pass that right then and there.
Correct.
Any other questions or comments on the public hearing? Okay, all those in favor of number 1? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. Moving on to number 2, that business regulation amendment bylaw number 1882.06 be given first, second, and third readings.
Move. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on the business regulation amendment bylaw? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. And we're on the third and final, that fees and charges amendment bylaw number 2016.07 be given first, second, and third readings.
Move. Second.
That's been moved and seconded. Thank you. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That passes unanimously, and we will get Councillor Swift back. Thank you. Okay, there are no special reports this evening, no bylaw adoptions. We're moving on to new business on page 64. We have the lease renewal for 1729B Comox Avenue, that the proposed lease agreement with Dr. Thomas C. Woods Inc. for the facility located at 1729B Comox Avenue during the term January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2029, as attached to the March 19th, 2025 report from the Director of Corporate Service titled Lease Renewal be approved, and further that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to execute the agreement.
Move.
Second.
That's moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on this lease renewal? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. Thank you. We're on to page 90. We have MFA borrowing near net zero emission reduction at Comox facilities, that the Comox loan authorization bylaw number 2044 achieving near net zero emissions reduction at 6 municipal facilities be given first, second, and third readings. And further, that council proceed to adoption of Comox loan authorization bylaw number 2044.
Move. Second.
That's been moved and seconded. And any questions or comments? We have Councillor Hazlitt.
I don't think I'm the only one here, but I had some questions about this and I didn't entirely understand it. Because I'd like to open staff to just give it a breakdown.
Over to CAO for a quick explanation.
Yeah, this is a grant program that we were successful in getting with FCM, and it helps fund the work that we did to reduce our operating costs and reduce the greenhouse gas emissions in our different facilities. So I'll start by saying that the overall analysis that we have on this is that this is a net positive cash flow project for the town. We are going to come out ahead. We are going to come out ahead cost wise for having done this project. The way that FCM structured this specific grant is that we enter into an agreement with them to take out the loan. They give us somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000 grant towards the project, and then we pay the loan off over time. It is which is again, it is good for us as well to have that capital back in our reserves because we are low on cash capital. So just part of the overall program. It's part of what FCM requires in this granting program, and it's required for us to get the grant to enter into this loan.
Thank you for that explanation. Part of a past process. Any other questions or comments, or did you follow up at all? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. Thank you. We're on page 107, the respectful workplace policy. We have number 1, that policy CCL-80, respectful workplace policy, be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Questions or comments on the policy? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. Thank you. Number 2, that policy all 007, Town of Comox respectful workplace policy be rescinded.
Move. Second.
That's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on the rescission? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. Thank you. And number 3, that policy all 008, Town of Comox complaint resolution policy be rescinded.
Move. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That passes unanimously. And thank you for getting that policy cleaned up and modernized to CCL 080. There are no notices of motion. We're on correspondence on page 123. We have the letter for receipt from Bob Wells for request for financial contribution to public substance use education and awareness event.
Move receipt. Second.
So receipt has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from council? This does fall outside of the grant and aid policy, so we'll look for receipt. And all those in favor of receipt? Opposed? And that passes unanimously for receipt. And I will follow up verbally with that. There are no late items. We'll do reports from council. So this is just on items that you want to educate or update from meetings that you went to, but not necessarily the different events that you did attend. So we'll start with Councillor Blacklock, and then we'll go to Councillor Swift, Councillor Haslett.
Yes, I attended a few things. Most interesting for reporting out would be the local government learning academy held last week in Richmond for 2 days at the Radisson Airport there. We attended many sessions. There's full days, 8:30 to 5 each day, but 2 days anyway. I think the most beneficial session for us was a session with former finance minister Carol Janes, answering questions on budgeting and handling today's political environment. I think it was very useful panel discussion that they had. We gleaned a lot from it. Councillor Grant was there as well, so I'll leave the rest to him.
Councillor Swift.
I have nothing to report.
Thank you, Councillor Haslett.
I had the STAIR board meeting at AGM. From the town, I expressed thanks to Julie Spooner Paul Dreyer, Susan Torsdal, Ellie Clark, and Raymond Moran, outgoing members of the board. They put in a substantial amount of effort bringing that organization into the future, and I think they're going to have a great group going forward.
Thank you. Councillor Kerr and then Councillor Grant.
Nothing to report.
Councillor Grant.
All right, well, so I get the dirty work here. Okay. So, yeah, I went to the LGLA as well. The panel that Steve was talking about also had Terry Lake and Mike Bernier at it. And amazingly, they all got along well, even though they all came from different parties, but they gave us a lot of good hints on what to do if you have a meeting with them. One of the things they said is don't take a whole bunch of people because it takes you 10 minutes to introduce everybody and you've only got 15. So don't do that. And the other thing that was notable was take a good plan and take them a solution so that they don't have to sit there and deal with how they're going to fix it. Just take something to them. Another thing that they brought up was resolutions at UBCM and how often they're not actioned by the province. And the reason is because there's just so many of them that they just don't get to them and they just don't do it. So, you know, they suggested that it would be far better to just phone them and go down there or talk to them rather than bring up a resolution at UBCM because it doesn't really get you anywhere. And the other one they said was invite them to your community. If you can get them to come to your community to go golfing or fishing or whatever it is you want to do, or skiing in this case, you got them for the whole day. And then you can really get your points across. So, and the other one was get to know the deputy ministers too. Don't just phone the minister, but get to know them. Other sessions we did was empowering your CAO. Not that he needs any more power, but so that was quite an interesting one. Engagement with First Nations, and the other one was engaging your community at your OCP. Many of the communities there had the same problem that we had the last time, which was the same 10 people go to every one of the sessions and they get what they want and the rest of the community stays home. And so they had all sorts of little tips and hints as to how you could get people going. And something they did was they went out to the schools, they went out to different organizations, they went to Rotary clubs and say, hey, come on out and have your say at this thing. And so they really engaged a lot of people and got them out. So I think they got a much better view of their community than what we did the last time. So, and that was about it.
Nice, thank you for sharing. On Friday, there was a leadership meeting at 19 Wing CFB Comox at the military base, and they shared quite a few updates with what's happening on the base. They've got quite a few new infrastructure and building projects happening. They're expecting to basically have 25% growth of their regular force in the next 5 years. So it's hundreds of people, military members, and then also civilians and family. So a lot of growth there. They have $750 million of projects that are funded and approved coming, and 250,000 unfunded. So basically in the next 7 to 10 years, there could be $1 billion of infrastructure happening on the military base. So a lot happening at 19 Wing Comox, including a real need for their housing, of course. So just had kind of a deep dive into some of the challenges and opportunities they're facing. But the general message was there's going to be a couple thousand more people coming into the community there. And there's a lot of infrastructure spending happening at the base. So good for us to know because it's just up the road and in Comox. I want to send a thank you to Berwick, who offered us a tour, and there was a couple of us that were able to attend that. And so just extending gratitude for that tour and learning more about that facility. We had the CVRD meeting last week and talked about the Housing Authority and did some media on that. So that's an ongoing conversation, but there's potentially not going to be a service review, and we should have an update on that soon. But that came out of that CVRD meeting that Councillor Grant and I attended. Jordan and Councillor Grant and I believe that was everyone, went to the Economic Outlook breakfast that the chamber hosted. That was a couple-hour presentation on basically what our possible economy could look like as a country and also locally. The only couple points that really stood out was they think it's going to be a very strong tourist year, as United States potentially is getting half of the tourists not going. Flights are down 25% because work, but lots of local tourism potentially on Vancouver Island and Comox Valley. So something we should be aware of. GDP they expect could go down about 1.5%, and they said that would probably impact almost every type of industry. So it's something we could be feeling over the next couple years. But also the big message was we've had COVID, we've had interest rate spikes. It's been years of lots of change happening. So the economy is very versatile and used to these changes. So tourism could really be a thing this spring and summer that we need to be expecting. And yeah, it was just a very logical update on what's happening and knowing that we might continue to see changes and we need to support our local community, Comox Valley businesses as much as possible during this unknown time. And that is it from me. There are no media questions. Are there any questions from the public? No questions from the public. Well, I will say thank you to everyone in attendance then and call for adjournment at 6:08. Moved and seconded. All in favor of adjournment? Perfect. Thank you so much and have a good evening. Thank you to staff. Thank you for coming.